Hello, and welcome to the final installment of the Business Reboot series. Today, we are diving into data and making better decisions as the CEO of your business, which I feel like we can all use that. Better decisions, more aligned decisions in our business. So, this series, the Business Reboot series, is designed to help you get clarity in your business, get your spark back, your excitement back in your business, and also help you to just get more clients, because that's always been my goal for you guys, is to help you grow your business. Now, this has been really fun because this series is actually a peek into what it looks like to coach with me. So walking through a model that I've built to help creatives, photographers, and entrepreneurs take their businesses to the next level. So today we're going to be talking about data, the numbers, a little bit more of the analytical side to your business. But I want to share with you why this matters. All right, so let me tell you why this mental shift that I made in the way that I look at numbers. Making better business decisions is not just about the numbers. The numbers actually help us to become more honest with ourselves, become more aware of what's already happening in our businesses. And with that awareness, I think it brings so much clarity. It helps us make those decisions from a place of clarity, and clarity brings action, and action builds momentum. And you guys, it is just all connected. And I want you to have that momentum. So let me just tell you, I went from being the girl that was afraid to check her own bank account numbers, that just avoided it altogether, kind of like hid my head in the sand, to being someone that checks my numbers very frequently, not like obsessively, not on a daily basis, but I am a much more data-driven entrepreneur now than I was in the beginning. And it has served me so well. I will tell you, they go hand in hand. The numbers and my success have gone hand in hand. So let's quickly recap where we've been for the past 3 weeks. And then I want to dive into making better decisions, more aligned decisions in your business, and give you some insight into what you can be doing with your numbers, where you could be tracking them, make this less scary. Okay, that's my goal for you. As a creative person who does not love numbers, and really I never did amazing in math growing up, to now being someone who feels confident talking about numbers, that is what I want for you. Okay, so quick recap of the past 3 episodes, and this episode being our final. So in part 1, we were in the assess phase. This is when you took a moment, you took a breath, we were pausing and thinking about where have you been, reflect on the business, what's working and what's not. This was a time when we were clearing out the cobwebs and doing a little bit of that spring cleaning. What are we going to leave behind and what are we taking with us into this next 12 weeks? In part 2, we were starting to execute a plan, setting goals, figuring out what is that strategic roadmap going to be in those next 12 weeks. What are some things that you're going to work on? And what are some things that are within your control? Because I think there's so much outside of our control, like algorithms, that it can be really discouraging. So I want to get really granular when you create a plan to actually write down what you're going to do, regardless of anyone else and any other algorithm. In part 3, we got into visibility, which is like one of my favorite topics. So getting you seen by not only new people, but some people that might have been following you for a while who completely forgot that you existed. Like, we follow people all the time, and then we forget and they pop back up in our feed and we're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about you. I would totally buy your thing, or I would totally want to work with you. Let's do this. So we covered a couple different ways of getting seen online. We covered content creation and how to create more compelling content and measure whether your content is working. We talked about pitching strategically for visibility. And then the third and final way was building those meaningful relationships through networking, because relationships never go out of style. All right, so today we are going to be wrapping up this series with data-driven decision making, talking about numbers, measuring our success, knowing where we are, and all of the in between. So I want to be able to answer questions for you that you might have, like, what should I be tracking? How often should I be looking at these numbers? Where am I keeping track of these numbers? And how do I get started with this? So that's exactly where we're going to start. So the first thing that I want to share with you when it comes to making more aligned decisions in your business is a 3-pronged approach that almost serves as a filter for big decisions and little decisions that you want to make in your business. This is something that has made a huge difference in my own ability to make decisions in my business, and I want to share this with you now. So The three things you have to weigh when you're looking at your schedule or your time or any of these things and the decisions that you're making with them, we need to filter everything through these three realities. And the three realities are your time, the money, the income, and your energy levels. So those are the three things. So as we're looking at how you're spending time in your business, as we're looking at where you're making money from, we also want to be looking at what gives you energy, what's draining your energy. So I want to make data-driven decisions in my business. And the realities for me are that my time as a working mom of two with part-time hours is that my energy levels are going to be different, right? Like if I'm up in the middle of the night with a 2-year-old, that I have a different capacity in this season. My energy is going to look different depending on what I'm actually doing with that time, how much of it is spent creating content or on calls, things like that. And so this three-pronged approach of looking at my time, my energy, and also the income impact of those things really helps me to ground that decision. So I wanted to share that little like triangle of information with you, because I think as we start looking at numbers, growth, revenue, things in your business, it can be easy to just chase that. It can be really, really easy to say, this is where I'm making the most money. I'm just going to do more of that. That could be the right decision for you, but we also need to weigh your time spent, because the time spent on that activity could be off the charts. It could be so ridiculously high that it's not really scalable. And we also need to consider your energy levels. If it's something that totally drains you, but it does make you money, we have to look at that in a really aligned way. So I think that's the portion of this talk where I feel like not only are we making decisions, we're making aligned decisions so that what we're building now is something we can continue to build for years to come. We're not, coming to complete burnout in 6 months saying, okay, we figured out how to make some money, but now I hate what I'm doing. It's taking too much time. My energy is, in the crapper. Okay, so let's dive into a little bit of like the numbers, right? Because I want to talk about what we should be measuring, how you can be measuring it, and how often to revisit it. Let's talk about that. So we talked about why it's really necessary to look at the numbers and how those numbers like actually keep us honest as to what is happening in our business. So what should you be tracking? This is a really common question that I get from my coaching clients. And my question back is always, what do you want to grow? Whatever you want to grow, track that. So what do you want to grow in the next 12 weeks? What do you want to see? Increased reach, increased revenue, increased conversions, whatever you want to grow, that's what we want to be tracking. And it's really going to help us to get clear on, are the things that we're doing, is the visibility strategy that we're using, is it actually leading to what we want? So we're connecting these things, right? Like the plan that we have, we also really want to make sure that the data is there so that we can sit down and decide, do we want to do this again for the next 12 weeks? Because we said that in episode 1. It was like, if you have to relive the same 3 months over again, what would you change? The only real way that we can get real about that is the numbers. Okay, so where do you track this? I don't think you need to get fancy here. I think like Google Sheets, Notion, Trello, Asana, whatever is going to be the tool that you'll actually use, that's what I want you to use. So personally, I have a combination of Google Sheets. So all of my financial stuff is in Google Sheets. Most everything else is in Notion. I'm trying to think. Yeah, most everything else is in Notion because I like to be able to use the tools that I like. And I personally feel really comfortable and using Notion, and I use it all the time. So I'm very likely to actually go there and look at it. So how often should you look at numbers like this? I think quarterly at the very least, but I really think you should also be looking at all these relevant numbers in moments where you're going to make a decision, like you're making a big investment, you're deciding a path to take, you are planning for the future. So if you're thinking about what the rest of this year is going to look like and how you're going to reach those goals, you now have to sit down with the numbers. It's funny because I didn't used to be someone who considered the numbers a very big part of my decision making, which is like almost embarrassing to admit. But I did a lot of dreaming and vision casting without looking at the numbers and the realities of what's happening. It was like very disconnected. So I had these huge dreams, but they weren't connected to what was working. It was like, it's very silly. So if that's you, do not feel bad. I was there for quite some time and they just didn't talk and they didn't connect. So I would say revisit the numbers as often as you need to. But I also would encourage you that if you do start to track numbers, like any kind of numbers in your business, this could be like website visitors, this could be inquiries, how many of your inquiries are converting into paying clients. Look at this when you're discouraged too, because a lot of times we're discouraged and it may not even be true, right? Like you could still have had a tremendous uptick in growth or success, or your conversion rate could still actually be pretty good. And then when you see that, it grounds you in reality of like, okay, well, then this is just a numbers game. This is just math. We just have to get more people to see us. We have to get more visibility, which is why I love visibility so much. So like I said at the top of the episode, I used to be someone that didn't look at my numbers, like my banking numbers, like hardly at all. Now I look at my numbers like at least once a week. I will log in, see what's going on, make sure everything looks good. And I just feel so much more in control of what's happening now that I'm on the other side of that. So it was like a little bit of a process of me just deciding I'm going to be someone who logs into my bank account. Like we're just going to look, I'm just going to be eyes wide open. I don't want to continue to operate my business in the same way. I'm just going to start logging in consistently, tracking my numbers consistently, looking at how can I grow and how can I improve? And I really think it's hard to improve something that you're not measuring. It's really, really hard. And that's why we need to measure it. That's why we need to track it. One final thing that I will say about tracking things in your business is I would start with the very basic things that you know you want to grow. It could be reach on some of your content. It could be revenue linked to bookings, linked to inquiries. So kind of keep going one step backwards. Start to track how many people are filling out your contact form. Start to track how often you're able to convert that into a paying client. And if you have a digital product, how many people are landing on that sales page? How often are they actually purchasing and completing purchases? Start with like the basics, because there's so much that you could track. Like there's so many platforms, so many things that we can measure. Like even on just like the YouTube side of things or the podcast side of things, there's so many different data points that I could measure. But I really want to urge you to keep it simple to start, get into the habit of completing this and sitting down once a month and saying, okay, well, how did we do on how many people are visiting our blog? What are we doing on keywords? What did I get any collaborations this month? Did I speak on anybody's podcast this month? Like things like that can be really cool to track, because you'll start to see months down the road the fruit of some of that later on, because sometimes there's a little bit of a lag. But yeah, I think hopefully this has been a really eye-opening series, and that this business reboot has left you feeling energized, excited, has given you some new ideas for ways that you can improve your business, get visibility and eyes on your business as well. If you're looking for a more personalized strategy or support in your business, you want someone to actually look at your numbers, you want someone to sit with you and create a strategy, a 12-week visibility plan for your business, I would love to speak with you about working together. You can book a free call through the description section, or you can simply go to joymichelle.co/call. And I would love to hop on a call and hear about your business and the ways that we could potentially work together. And before you go, if you enjoyed this series, please let me know so I can continue to make content like this for you. If you liked this, if it was helpful for you, simply send me a DM on Instagram and let me know which part was most helpful. Thank you so much for listening all the way here to the end, and I will see you guys in our next episode. Bye.